We're really excited to have Kristina and Mario here joining us. Hey guys, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for the opportunity. We're excited to share our story. So we hopefully enable all those other people out there who juggle a career and juggle kids and juggle wanting to just explore other types of entrepreneurship, that real estate is definitely possible for all of you all.
Awesome. Yeah. And I know a number of people have been following your stories in our community, but for those who don't know you, could you tell us a little bit about yourself, about your job and where you live?
Yeah. So I'll go first. I'm Kristina. Mario and I live in San Antonio, Texas. We both pretty much grew up here close to the Mexican border. And I'm a pediatric critical care intensivist and now a real estate investor, as well as an inventor, as well as a full-time mommy, as well as a researcher. And so I am able to juggle all of that because of my partner, Mario.
Well, I went to school in San Marcos, graduated with a CIS degree, moved to Austin, was in Austin for about 15 years, purchased my first home, got married, rented my first home out. So that's kind of how that was my start in real estate investing. We now live in San Antonio. I still have that house. It was about to be paid off, but we decided to refinance it. And that kind of has helped us just invest in other properties so far.
So you guys came in with your house, Mario, and how did you get interested in real estate? What was kind of the trigger for that? And what have you guys done since?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I fortunately grew up in a household where my dad had real estate. He was a CEO for community health centers along the border area of Texas. And on top of that, he created a billboard business and then just built some multifamily units in our hometown. And it's a small community, like 30,000. So I watched him do that. So growing up, I thought that was the norm, right? I thought that's what everybody did. And when I went to college, he purchased a condo for me in San Antonio. And then when I did med school at UTMB in Galveston, he purchased another condo for me. So again, I just saw him kind of acquire different properties. And so I just thought that was something that I would do as well. Obviously, for me, my journey was a little different because I was always studying. I was always preparing for some board exam. So lo and behold, when I finished and Mario and I got married, it was very natural for me to say, hey, we need to purchase some properties. So we did have 3 single family homes before we took the course. And then we found you guys through the awesome community of physicians, and we took your course the summer of 2020. So about a year ago. And at that point, it really enabled us to say, ooh, we only have 3 single family homes. There's like so much more to do with our real estate portfolio. So at that point, I set a goal for 10 doors, and we almost reached it, but we learned that creating a team is really important in starting this journey. It shouldn't stop you, because we still moved on. It shouldn't stop anybody to say, like, I don't have my team, so I can't make an offer. However, we learned that it's been faster to acquire our properties with a team in place. And so we lost a 6-plex by hours because our banker couldn't get our pre-approval letter in place. But anyhow, so we didn't quite meet the 10 doors December of 2020, but by January 2021, we were up to 7 doors. So at that point, I'm like, well, I want 20 doors for 2021. I doubled my bet. And lo and behold, by June, the first week of June, we hit 22 doors.
Nice. That's
Yay.
awesome.
Halfway
Mario, what did you think when Kristina said she wanted 20 doors in 2021? Was that a shared goal, or did she kind of
No,
state
I
that
mean,
and say this is what she
I think
wanted?
it was definitely for her goal. Like I don't have like certain goals. Like I think if we were to reach 30, that would have been okay. If we'd have been at 15, I still would have been okay. I kind of base it on, well, as long as, we're making, some kind of return on investment and we're doing good, I think it's fine. I initially, I didn't think it was possible, but that was one of my, kind of limiting factors, I guess, because, just knowing the fact that I didn't believe that we could purchase 2, 3 properties at the same time. I thought we weren't going to get approved with the financing and so forth, but we ended up doing it, and nobody said anything. And we learned that when you're financing multiple properties, they're going to come and ask you, why is your credit being checked? And you can just say, I'm searching for, I guess, financial assistance for mortgage payments, like a better rates and so forth. So when we did it, I was surprised that we did, but I'm kind of glad we went ahead and kind of just jumped over the edge and said, let's do it, instead of kind of hesitating.
So I want to highlight a couple things. So first of all, you guys set a goal. And, Mario, you said you didn't know that it was even possible. And it's amazing. You already did it in, basically 6 months you did it, which is quite remarkable. And that's a pattern people will see, is when you set the goal, now you have a direction you're going and people reach it. And that's amazing. And then the second one I wanted to highlight is that you can buy multiple properties at the same time. And people don't realize that, but we've done that actually. A number of our students have done that, and it's entirely possible to do.
Actually, it's sometimes easier, right? Because just like you said, one bank may not know about another bank, and they may not know you're buying 2 properties at the same time. So if you did it sequentially, then the second bank would definitely know about the other one.
But we also now have established a relationship with one of the bankers who wants her business, and she actually came through on one of the properties in the middle, because the previous broker could not. He was a broker, and so anyhow, the bank at the end, it was a commercial loan, and so anyhow, long story short, that fell through. And Brooke is her name. She ended up helping us with that property at the last minute, so we wouldn't lose it. So she actually helped finance us multiple properties at the same time. So that's also possible. And I also want to share with those watching this is that many of you may say, well, where do I get this money? How do I even, I don't, and I think I really want to stress that setting the goal for us was how it happened. We had some cash we had saved, but then we were just kind of thinking, how are we going to, right? And the how is always one of our limiting beliefs. But like Mario said, we decided, well, why don't we just refinance our house, do a cash out refi, and pull some of that money and pour it back into real estate. And so it's scary, right? Because you have to come up with closing costs. You have to come up with a bigger loan in essence, because now but it's worked out fine. And now we have cash flowing properties. So we have no doubt that we'll be able to pay back those loans.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I think I don't have the money is something that stops people in their tracks, and they don't go past that and start trying to figure out how can I find the money, or what are some ways I can buy a property with no money down, maybe, right? So it's you're absolutely right. We call it the tyranny of the how. We've kind of talked about that in other interviews. And what you guys did was you had a why and a goal, and you figured out the how, and it's awesome. Yeah. So. Okay,
yeah. So we would definitely want to share the story of the property that was mislisted. That the agent who had been listing the property had made a mistake. So can you guys share that story?
Yeah. So again, we live in San Antonio, and I really wanted to purchase a property in one of the historical areas of this area. I had already found one property listed, and I was a little disappointed because the amount didn't match our numbers. And so we did try to negotiate and lower the price, and they didn't budge. So I kind of tried to think outside the box, be creative. How can we increase the COC on this property if we do proceed with it? But I kept looking around that area, and I had my funnel for single family and multifamily on Redfin. And I like Letty and Kenji, and I think Letty does this, is she wakes up in the morning and she like scrolls through Redfin. And that's what I started to do. I literally would wake up and just start scrolling before my day went on. And it doesn't take a long time once you get going. And then I set filters where I would get messages if a property would come up as well. So I found another property right next to this property that we had not proceeded with. And it was also a threeplex. It was a multifamily. And it was significantly lower, at least more within our budget. So I sent it to our real estate, our realtor, our investor agent, and he said, wow, this is a really good find. How did you find it? And so I just told him I found it through single family. And he says, yeah, you're right. It's been on the market for 3 months. It probably hasn't sold yet because it's just mislabeled. And so we proceeded with it. It turned out that was probably our hardest property to purchase because their realtor was not warm and fuzzy and kind of always created some barriers, but we just pushed through. Our realtor pushed through lots of communication. We did have to get the title company involved, almost got the lawyer involved, but it happened. We signed, and we just learned that the property that I've been wanting just went up in price, an additional $175,000. So, and that's pending. So hopefully that will continue to add value to our property next door, which is.
Yeah, if I can add to that story, like initially she found that property next door to ours. We actually made an offer. We got outbid. We made an offer of $15,000 over the asking price. We got outbid by $30,000. So that's when she ended up finding the property next door. We made an offer. We negotiated. I think we got a $20,000 haircut for the roof. So it appraised $70,000 over, and we went ahead and purchased it. And now the one next door is went back on the market. They made some additions, some repairs and updates, and now it's appraised, $170,000 over the initial asking price, which is good for us because we're right next door.
Amazing. Yeah, there's so many aspects of that story. One thing that I heard you say in the beginning was that for the first property, the COC didn't match up. And for our listeners who don't know what that means, essentially a COC is cash on cash return. It's a calculation that Kristina had done in order to see, okay, is this a good property to buy as an investment? Is this going to cash flow? And so you did the numbers, and at the number that they were selling, it just wasn't going to work. And it sounded like and then the other part of that story is that you had your alert set up on Redfin, and you were looking at it first thing in the morning, just like Leti does. And you found it, you showed your agent, and you put in an offer quickly. So that enabled you to lock up the property. But the other key part of that story was that it was mislabeled. Like you said, it was mislabeled a single family, but it was really a 3-unit. And therefore, for a single family, I guess, presumably it was overpriced, and that's why people were overlooking it. I'm assuming, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But as a triplex, all the investors out there were missing it. And so that really created the opportunity. And I want to emphasize that happens. That really does happen.
Yep. Yeah.
Even our realtor didn't have it on his
radar.
Yeah.
There you go.
In addition to that, once we were able to go walk the property, we found that one of the units had an extra bathroom that we didn't expect. And then the second unit had this extra playroom that we didn't expect. So we were really excited to just know that the potential to play with that. Well, the extra bathroom is always great for increasing rents, market to market value. And then the playroom, we just thought that the right tenant would really love that room, either as a workspace, as a play space for a family, or what have you. And then there was the third unit is more of an efficiency, and it's right next to the garage. So it's a 2-car garage. So we thought that there's potential to extend that efficiency more into a 1 or 2 bedroom, and then maybe rent the garage as space. So we were able to rent one of the garage as space, both of them. Mm-hmm. Okay. So for all those listeners, we signed on that property in May. We added some plumbing for each individual unit to have their washer and dryer. And we just got all 3 rented this week. So
what were they renting for before versus after?
So
I believe before they were I think the smaller unit was about 1,400. The bigger unit was about 1,600. We're currently renting them for about $150 over what they were previously renting. So
nice. Did we go to 1,850?
One's 1,775 and the other one is 1,650.
Okay.
Very nice.
Wow.
Very nice.
Very nice. And not only that, it sounds like you also benefited from market appreciation, right? You were in a historical district, and then now you have a comp. The property next door appraised for, I think you said 175,000 more.
Actually, at least from what we ended up paying for ours, it's right at 205 more.
Wow.
So I think I misspoke a little. Yeah. I think it was at 650 and then now it's at 775. So 125 over what we were even considering purchasing it at. And then if it sells at that amount, it'll be 205 more.
Than what you paid for it. Yeah.
Right.
What you paid for yours.
We paid for ours.
Yeah.
The COC wasn't great, but we knew it was in a great district, and we both agreed that even if it's not a great COC, the appreciation there is going to increase a lot faster than around the city. So we went ahead and purchased it, and we're already seeing, some positive outlooks on it.
Yeah, and it's definitely our COC is a little higher than what we expected, and so we know we can push for higher market value. And then now that we have all renters in place, we can probably just ask them what else we could do to make their lives a little more convenient and hopefully add a little more value, increase their rents a little bit more next year.
Well, it sounds like also that there's some other opportunity there, maybe with the adding a bedroom and building into that garage space or that playroom space or office space. So there's other opportunities there that you didn't know about. And I think that's another kind of point here is that, unless you lock up a property, get it under contract and actually go look at it, because most of these, they're not, or have your agent look at it. Yeah. I mean, they're not going to have, most of these investment properties aren't going to have an open house for you to be able to look at it before you put in an offer. So investment properties, you got to lock it up in order to be able to see them. And when you do, that's when you can uncover some of this hidden value, these surprises that you didn't know about and nobody knew about. And that's definitely one of my favorite things.
Yeah. I think back to a duplex we bought in Spokane, and it was a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. And when our agent went and walked it, we never saw it, but when he went and walked it, there was a whole basement,
Huge,
like
yeah.
huge basement with tall ceilings.
High ceilings. Yeah.
We added 2 bedrooms and 1 bath in each side of the basement.
Mhm.
Again, we actually never walked to this property. We never saw it. And we ended up selling it for a huge profit.
Selling it, and we never saw the inside of it. but yeah, it went from a 2-1 on each side to a 4-2.
Yeah. And we
side.
wouldn't have known until we locked it up and the agent went down in the basement and said, oh my gosh,
there's a huge basement here.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very
so
cool. So what was your next purchase after that triplex?
That was the next purchase after Ridgewood. Considering Ridgewood was our, I guess, most expensive unit, we ended up going bigger with an 8-plex in New Braunfels. New Braunfels, if you know it, and it's right between Austin and San Antonio. It was kind of like a all of a sudden purchase because our realtor brought it up to us. We were in Austin. We're like, there's this great property. You might want to drive by. We were on our way back to San Antonio, so we drove by it. The location was great. It's in kind of like in the middle of a really decent neighborhood in New Braunfels. It's really close to I-35. It's maybe not even half a mile away from H-E-B, and they're renovating the H-E-B.
H-E-B is a big Texas grocery store who everybody loves. That's for those who are not from Texas. But it's like gold for groceries. The prices are great. You can find almost anything at that store. So
going from these smaller properties up to an 8-plex, how did that come about? And did you have any fears about it?
I was the one more skeptical, mostly because it was 1 bedroom, 1 bath on all eight units. Another limiting factor that, we can't raise the rents on 1-1s as much as we can on 2-1s or 2-2s or 3-2s. But, she was pretty adamant that it was a great property. And once we drove by it, I think we both agreed, considering location, just the increase in property value in that area, the location to, San Marcos, Austin, and San Antonio. And then just knowing that, like Amazon and other major corporations are coming into like
that corridor.
So we ended up buying it.
One other thing is that property, the value that I saw and I felt very persistent about was it's in great shape. Mm-hmm. Like the siding was beautiful. All the indoor units had like really upgraded kitchens and bathrooms, and each one had their own little European washer and dryer in place already. So I thought, and then I looked at Rentometer, which is an app you can use to kind of get a brief like overview of what rents are going for in that area. And I saw the potential to definitely raise rents without even having to add a lot of value to each unit.
Right. In addition, we also negotiated that the roof get replaced before we purchased the property. So that was an extra, added bonus.
So isn't it interesting what kind of limiting beliefs we all carry, right? The limiting belief that a 1 bedroom, you can't increase rent as much, right? And I mean,
I've had similar thoughts, actually. It wasn't exactly that. I think it was more, I had fears about the tenant, the tenant population, thinking that, 2-3 bedrooms would cater to families and things like that. And so, but it's interesting. Yeah. We all carry these different beliefs.
Yeah. So interesting. Yeah. And then you overcame them. And I presume you were able to increase some rents even without doing a whole lot of work, which is remarkable. So
amazing.
Yeah. We're actively working on that. Thankfully, they were all rented. And so almost in the upcoming year, like each contract is going to be expiring. And given the fact that, and this was probably more my limiting belief, or I don't know, but because we had already used up a lot of cash to go out and reach our goal, I thought that it was okay to not necessarily evict anybody before we walked in, just keep the cash flowing. And then we could actually be creative and look at each property individually and see what needs we could meet for the families or that are staying there, and then increase the rent. So we have one contract that just expired.
Well, there's one ending at the end of August. The good thing is that an application for that property has already been submitted, and we got another one kind of waiting for us to let them know if one's going to be available. So there's kind of like a line to get that property rented. So it looks good on as far as like raising the rents. They did renew one contract before we signed, but it was at a higher rent, like the higher rent there. So
I was thankful that Mario's limiting belief of it's going to be hard to rent these, and now he has a waiting list for. I'm like, oh, thank God.
So in not even a year, you guys have increased your portfolio up to 22 units. What are you planning for the future?
I would love to get to 50 units.
By when?
I think we are 2021. I would give myself to probably just like the spring of 2023. Ideally, it would be December 2022. But I would like to stabilize all these units. And part of that is Mario is doing all the property management of these units as he's reaching real estate professional status. So as we go through this journey, I want to stay married and I don't want to overwork him.
Yeah, it's something we didn't talk about. Yeah, you're Mario, you're self-managing all these properties.
Yes, I am.
Wow, amazing.
It is, of course, it's hard. It's, I think once we have like a general contracting team in place, because, we have some available and they give us quotes, but, since I've done most of the work in the properties I already have, it seems like they're overcharging us. But I have found some good contracting or subcontracting people that I've really liked. So once we get like a kind of at least a couple of set subcontractors in place, and I think it would be much easier to purchase additional properties.
We have found in this year in particular, we've got quotes for updates, and when we've called them, they haven't returned our phone calls. Thankfully, Mario is handy and he likes to fix things. So it's been a little easier for us to keep going with the properties without waiting and depending on another team to show up. But really that has been a struggle for us and some other friends, is getting people there. Like we just, or he will go and it'll be 3 hours before anybody shows up. And they're like there for an hour and they're like, well, we're going to have to come back. So it'll be fascinating to talk to our community and see if that's kind of a global and I don't know if it's just that the market is so hot. So then they're needed another, properties. But anyhow, Mario is addressing it and taking care of it. And that's how we're moving along.
I see a general contracting license in Mario's future and a big tool belt. Well, this will be fun to kind of see, with your goal of 50, it'll be fun to see next year's conference, a little update video on you guys. So we'll see. I'd love to kind of see where you end up. So, kind of as we close, any closing advice for others who are considering investing in real estate?
A quick advice is get a good, mortgage broker in place. At least you don't have to use them, but at least have him available to give you a pre-approval letter. Mm-hmm. Once you get pre-approved, you have the option to make an offer. Once the offer is accepted, you have more time to either shop around for, the best mortgage deal that you can find, or, just make sure that you are able to walk the property and see if you really want to purchase it or not. But that was one of our, issues we had with our first property, or we lost one of the properties that we had because the bank gave us a great offer, but we had to submit the application. The application takes a while. And even after you submit the full application and all the documents, they still have to review it and go through underwriting. And that could take, whether it's a couple of days or a week. And you don't really have that when you make an offer. Like they want the pre-approval letter. And once you have that in hand, you can, we were able to submit, 3 offers at the same time with the same pre-approval letter, at least the same mortgage broker. We ended up going with a different mortgage broker, but at least we had that already in hand. So that's one of the things that I saw that kind of has helped us.
Great advice.
Second is, have a good real estate investor. Agent, just somebody that's knowledgeable. We've been, I guess, investing locally, but I think that goes for whether you're investing locally or out of town or out of state, or just make sure that he knows what areas he should be providing you with information, not you to him. Like, what's a good area? He should be able to tell you, oh, this is a great area. He should give you a list of different areas in town that you should invest in, or, have potential of increasing rents or up and coming areas and so forth. So those are my 2 cents.
Great advice.
Yeah.
I think, a lot of us who invest out of state or from a distance, we don't know every neighborhood, and we really rely on our agents to have that history in that area and to know what neighborhood is going to grow over time. Where is the path of progress? Great advice.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I heard was, and consistent with a lot of other interviews, is relationships, right? Relationships with your mortgage broker, relationship with your agent. Your agent brings you deals. Your mortgage broker, allows you to, you make it happen, get lock up deals and also close on them. So great advice.
And I think just a few more points is, I think mindset for me has been a big deal, not only in the goal reaching aspect, but trying to live more in abundance than in scarcity. So there's multifamilies and single families for everyone. Like, you're not really competing against your friends. Like, surround yourself in a community that thinks like you, and share properties. Like, if you're not going to proceed with that, maybe that's a property that does work for another family. And so I think that would be another learning lesson for me, is to try to live more in abundance.
Awesome. Great advice. So we're going to do a separate segment with you guys to look at one of your renovation projects. So be sure to go and check that out later in the day. Kristina, Mario, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys.